What is going on, Headliner Nation? Hopefully everyone's doing well out there. Today we're talking about some quarterback and tight end rankings for Week 15 fantasy football. Now this is going to be our last rankings video here for this week, so hopefully we get those lineups set. If you still need flex rankings, defense rankings, kicker rankings, we have those as well. They are a member perk, so consider hitting that little blue join button right underneath the video. No, you're not just going to get one bonus video with some extra rankings. You're going to get access to Discord, a Sunday morning live stream for members only, and other bonus content all year long. I've said it once and I'll say it 100 million times. Our Discord is the most non-toxic fantasy football space in this entire industry. It's a bunch of positive, like-minded people that just want to get together and talk some football. So if you're interested, consider becoming a member. But now let's go ahead and dive into the rankings here for quarterbacks, kicking it off number 1 with Jalen Hurts. And I know it doesn't surprise too many people that he's sitting right here at number 1, given he's got a matchup in primetime football Monday night against the Seattle Seahawks. Love the potential upside for Jalen Hurts. He's at number 1. Number 2, it's Lamar Jackson. He's playing well, and now he gets a matchup going up against Jacksonville, a team that's hard to run on, but you can throw all over them. I'm looking for some big plays going the way of Zay Flowers, Odell Beckham, and some Isaiah Likely. I got Lamar Jackson at number 2. Number 3, it's Josh Allen. Now, I love that it's a home game. I don't love that it's against the Dallas Cowboys defense. However, matchups aside, Josh Allen seems to go out weekly and find a way to put up big-time fantasy points, so he's at number 3. Number 4, maybe the NFL MVP, Brock Do-em Dirty Purdy of the San Francisco 49ers. A great matchup for him going up against Arizona, and this San Francisco offense can do no wrong here as of late. Brock at 4. Number 5, it's Dak Prescott. Dallas Cowboys traveling to Buffalo. A difficult game for Dak Prescott, but this offense is playing well, and the Cowboys need to continue winning ball games in order to have a chance at that number 1 overall seed in the NFC. Dak's at 5. 6, it's Patrick Mahomes, and I know a lot of people are frustrated with Mahomes, and I really believe that frustration comes from what we've seen from him in the past, right? He's not playing horrible when it comes to fantasy football, but compared to what he's done in years past, yes, it's horrible. Right now, he's basically blending in with like one of the guys, right? He's just not the guy right now in fantasy football, in a difficult matchup going up against New England in a must-win game for Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes at 6. 7, Matthew Stafford. This dude couldn't throw multiple touchdowns in a game all year long, and then all of a sudden, a couple weeks ago, the offense started to click in LA, and he's throwing balls in the end zone with regularity. Now he gets a matchup going up against Washington, one of the best matchups in the league. I got Stafford at 7. Number 8, his opponent in that game, though, Sam Howell. We know Washington's defense is horrendous. They're always going to be losing, which means they're always going to be throwing, and Sam Howell has been one of the top fantasy quarterbacks for that reason all year long. I got him at 8. Number 9, it's Justin Fields. I would love to have him higher, but this matchup against Cleveland is no joke. Really, what's going to keep him inside the top 12, probably remainder of the season as long as he stays healthy, is that rushing upside, and everyone knows it. Plus, it helps when you can throw some deep balls down the field to DJ Moore. Got him at number 9. Number 10, it's Russell Wilson. Been pretty freaking reliable here as of late. Now he gets a matchup going up against Detroit. Super hard to run against Detroit, but you can throw against Detroit, and with Courtland Sutton basically scoring a touchdown a week, I got Russell Wilson at 10. Number 11, it's Tua, and honestly, he could drop a little bit more if he doesn't have Tyreek Hill. This offensive line is in a bad place, and his number 1 overall wide receiver is not 100% healthy. Out on top of that, a matchup going up against the Jets, I have Tua at 11 and trending down, waiting for news on Tyreek Hill. Number 12, it's Jordan Love, has a matchup going up against Tampa Bay. It doesn't get much better for Jordan Love than this. I know a lot of people were let down with his performance last week, but the guy has performed great for majority of the season. I'm not writing him off yet. In a great matchup, I got Love at 12. 13, it's Jared Goff. Now, if you waited on quarterback in your draft and you've been using Jared Goff off and on all year long, and you saw the fantasy playoffs with a matchup against Denver, at the beginning of the season, you were pumped. Now, all of a sudden, probably not that pumped because this Denver defense is playing way better. With the amount of volume that goes to the running backs here in this offense right now, Jared Goff's at 13. 14 is Jake Browning of the Cincinnati Bengals in a matchup going up against the Minnesota Vikings. I don't think a lot of people, myself included, expected what we've seen from Jake Browning here over the past couple weeks. I would love to put him higher, but in a week with no bye weeks, I got him sitting at number 14. 15 is Trevor Lawrence. Difficult matchup going up against Baltimore. Baltimore was shredded through the air last week by Matthew Stafford, but we're not going to count on that happening each and every week. I got Trevor Lawrence at 15. 16 is Kyler Murray. Not only does the matchup suck going up against San Francisco, he also has no healthy wide receivers to really throw the ball to. Hollywood Brown, Michael Wilson still questionable to play, so Kyler Murray's at 16. 17 is Joe Flacco, playing absolutely great here over the past couple weeks of the season. I can't believe this dude is basically sitting on a couch, and now he just comes out and throws multiple touchdowns each and every week. A matchup going up against Chicago on paper looks good, but this Bears defense has been playing better over the last month of the season, so I got Flacco at 17. 18 is Baker Mayfield in that matchup going up against Green Bay. Now, Green Bay is a difficult matchup for opposing quarterbacks, but we still also know that Jair Alexander is once again questionable. We're hoping for a big Mike Evans day this week, so Baker's at 18. 19, it's Gardner Minshew of the Indianapolis Colts. I mentioned this in the start-sit video. I feel like I watch Gardner Minshew play on Sundays, and it feels like he's racking up fantasy points, and then you look at the box score at the end of the game, and the dude's hovering right around 15 or 16 points. The ceiling isn't overly high, and really with a matchup going up against Pittsburgh, it's all going to depend which Pittsburgh defense shows up. We already know that TJ Watt's going to be active, so Gardner Minshew's at 19. Number 20, this is where I have Geno Smith as of right now. Now, we're not 100% sure if it's going to be Geno or Drew Lock, but it's a great matchup going up against Philadelphia. Philadelphia is so much easier to throw on than they are to run on, and when you have weapons like DK Metcalf, JSN, and Tyler Lockett, you have that big play potential and the opportunity for a big fantasy day. As of right now, until we get more news in Seattle who's going to start, I got Geno at 20. 21, it's Tommy DeVito. We know the Giants aren't some elite passing offense, but Tommy DeVito has been playing great, and with his ability to scramble out of the pocket when it breaks down, it really raises his fantasy floor, so he's at 21. 22, it's Will Levis of the Tennessee Titans playing with a lot more confidence now in a matchup going up against Houston, a divisional opponent who is dealing with a ton of injuries. Tennessee has to win every game rest of season to even have a shot at the playoffs. You better believe they want to take it to a division opponent when they're already down, so Levis is at 22. 23 is Aiden O'Connell, Las Vegas Raiders. I know it doesn't sound sexy, but the matchup going up against the Chargers is that good, and now we know that Davante Adams is going to play in this ballgame. We know his ceiling isn't going to be overly high, though, but that's why he's ranked all the way down at 23 and not 13. How about 24? This is where I put CJ Stroud, because a lot of people are going to ask about him if I don't include him. Now, at the time of this recording, he hasn't cleared concussion protocol just yet. But if he does, he's going to be without multiple top weapons in this offense. We know about the Tank Dell injury. We know about the Nico Collins injury. We know Noah Brown does not look 100% healthy. We know we're trying to get Dalton Schultz back in this offense. There are so many question marks in the Houston Texans offense, I had to drop CJ Stroud down. Now, if he is 100% full go heading into the weekend, sure, he may climb a couple spots, but he's no longer going to be in the top 8 like he has been for the last couple months. And that's going to round out the top 24 quarterbacks for me here in Week 15, but now it's time to talk about some tight ends, the football kind, and throw it over to Kyle.
Headliner Nation, I may be crazy, I may be losing my mind, but here for the first week of the fantasy playoffs, I feel like we may have the deepest week yet at the tight end position. There is actually quite a few good opportunities for us to utilize tight ends that we may not have needed a whole lot from this season. Or there's guys with floors that have great ceilings this week. Whatever it may be, I really feel like we're going to be able to lock in the tight end position this week. Let's go ahead and dive into it. I've got my top 18 tight ends. Couple of guys sitting just on the outside looking in. Let's go ahead and discuss. And Travis Kelce, TJ Hawkinson, Sam Laporta, George Kittle, it doesn't matter what order you put them in, they're still going to be inside your top 4. And that's exactly how I have it this week. TJ Hawkinson is going to hold down the #1 spot for me at Cincinnati. Great matchup going up against a defense that ranks last in fantasy points allowed to the tight end position. Travis Kelce does have a little bit of a tougher matchup against the New England defense, but we know that he has had the safest floor of any tight end this season. And that's one of the reasons why I've got him above Sam Laporta at 3 and George Kittle at 4. Sam Laporta, also a really good matchup going up against Denver. But for me, Sam Laporta's floor right now is a little risky given the offensive issues the Detroit Lions continue to have. And George Kittle at number 4, also a good matchup going up against Arizona. For the most part, their defense has not been good this year, but somehow or another, they haven't allowed a whole lot of fantasy points to the tight end position. They've allowed the 7th fewest this year, but they are ranked 13th against the pass and ranked 30th in defensive points per game allowed this year. George Kittle is still going to have that nice upside we like, even if his floor continues to be a little up and down in any given week. David Njoku, give me some David Njoku going up against Chicago this week. Chicago right now allowing the 6th most fantasy points to the tight end position, and David Njoku coming off a huge week. Joe Flacco has loved looking his way. Jake Ferguson at number 6 going up against Buffalo, a game that has an opportunity to be a back and forth affair. Jake Ferguson, definitely, let's lock him in for 6 to 7 targets this week. And you've heard me say it all season long. If you get him in that area, he's definitely a top 6 potential tight end every time. Evan Engram and Isaiah Likely are going to be facing off against each other this week. Now, Isaiah Likely probably has a little bit of a higher ceiling for me going up against a Jacksonville team that allows the 5th most fantasy points to the tight end position. Evan Engram, the reason I got him slightly ahead of Isaiah Likely is because he's safer right now, but his ceiling has expanded with no Christian Kirk. Baltimore is going to be a tough defense to face. Engram and Likely should both have really good weeks. Trey McBride, he has a terrible matchup this week going up against San Francisco, but we know he's going to be looked at quite a bit, and probably Arizona is going to be playing from behind. Volume alone, even if he doesn't hit the upside, could give his floor exactly what you need. Logan Thomas going up against an LA Rams team that allows the most touchdowns to the tight end position in the NFL. Logan Thomas finding the end zone this week would not shock me whatsoever. Taysom Hill at number 11 going up against the New York Giants. I think we're going to see him rotate around just like we did prior to his injury last week. I think he's going to get some touches at the quarterback position, maybe a little bit more than what we have seen lately, especially given the struggles from Derek Carr in this offense last week against Minnesota. And then Dalton Schultz at number 12. He is practicing. Right now, it doesn't look like he's going to have a questionable tag this week, and he's trending towards being in against Tennessee, and that's going to put him firmly inside my top 12, knowing the injuries that they are dealing with right now in Houston. Gerald Everett at number 13 against Las Vegas. I would really like to move him higher. No Keenan Allen this week could potentially lead to a lot of targets for Gerald Everett, but dealing with a backup quarterback, it's going to be hard to really figure out whether or not he's going to be looking Everett's way quite a bit, or will he be dumping off to Austin Eckler, or will he take some shots down the field? Gerald Everett has potential on Thursday Night Football, but his floor is still a big risk for me. Dalton Cade got quite a bit of targets last week still, even with Dawson Knox being back. But Dallas, they know how to stop opposing offenses, and Dalton Kincaid has been a little up and down as of recent, so I'm looking for some options that might be a little safer than him. Dallas Goedert at number 15. I'm still not fully convinced that he is healthy and going to go out and put up big numbers. I think he's more of a decoy right now, and maybe over the next couple of weeks we see him start to trend up. If he does play 100% healthy this week, I could see him getting a little bit closer to about 7 targets if Seattle can keep this game close, and then Dallas Goedert will probably bump up above Gerald Everett for me at that point. Chigiooko going up against Houston, giving up the 2nd most fantasy points to the tight end position. Chigioko's been playing a little bit better as of recent. Kind of a letdown last week, but I think he's back on track against Houston. Pat Freiermuth going up against Indianapolis could end up being a good matchup for him as well. He definitely has a decent amount of upside for me and saw decent targets last week, but I just don't trust Mitchie Biscuits, man, and that's my biggest issue. If Kenny Pickett was healthy, Pat Freiermuth is probably up inside the top 12, but the drop from Kenny Pickett, even though he hasn't been great, to Mitchie Biscuits for me is a big downfall because Kenny Pickett and Pat Freiermuth are always on the same page. And then Tucker Kraft going up against Tampa Bay. I think this is a really good opportunity for Tucker Kraft this week. Luke Musgrave did return to practice. I don't think he's going to be playing anytime soon. He's more along the lines of doing rehab work. So we'll continue to keep an eye on Tucker Kraft here at the end of the season as Luke Musgrave works his way back. But right now, ranked 24th against tight ends, Tampa Bay has some vulnerabilities in the secondary, and Tucker Kraft could take advantage of those. Maybe not with a touchdown, but with a few yards and maybe a few catches to go with it. All right, on the outside looking in, Kyle Pitts going up against Carolina, coming off of a touchdown last week, and you know what? Wouldn't be shocked if he had another one this week, but Carolina's strength is their secondary and stopping the pass, and Kyle Pitts' strengths are really just showing up every once in a while, just enough to try and get us back on board again. Cole Kmet against Cleveland. It is a really tough matchup. Definitely could see the amount of targets going his way, but don't know if I see him actually hauling in the amount of volume that we would need. Cade Otton going up against Green Bay. Green Bay does pretty good against the pass, ranked 10th in the NFL right now, but they're ranked 17th against tight ends. So Cade Otton has that opportunity this week, playing more snaps than any tight end in football to get out there and hopefully make an impact for Tampa Bay. Hunter Henry coming off of a big week last week. While I would love to put him inside my top 18. I can't do it right now. He's been way too inconsistent this season. Going up against Kansas City, there's going to be an opportunity to throw the ball, and maybe Hunter Henry finds himself in there again. But I just feel like when you take a look at his upside, it's really comparable to guys like Chigioco, Pat Freiermuth, Tucker Kraft, Gerald Everett. But I feel with how bad the New England offense has struggled this year, that his floor is a lot lower as well. So for me, I just have to stay away from Hunter Henry once again this week. I'll bring up Darren Waller real fast because I think people are going to ask me about him. He is designated to return, and as of this recording, he was expected to practice on Thursday, but I highly doubt he plays anytime soon. The earliest we would be looking at Darren Waller is probably week 16. And then Tyler Conklin going up against Miami, there's an opportunity for some targets there. But even though Tyler Conklin's floor has been right around 4 or 5 fantasy points this season, his ceiling isn't much higher than that. And that's another reason why it's like, okay, if you want to play Tyler Conklin, that's fine. But he's got a similar floor as like Tucker Kraft, Pat Freiermuth, Chigioco, but all those guys have more upside than him. So that's why I'm ranking him here and leaving him outside of the top 18, because I don't love the upside that he presents, even if his floor is okay on a weekly basis. Yo, Headliner Nation, there you have it. My top 18 tight ends, a few guys on the outside looking in. I like a lot of tight ends this week. I think we have a great opportunity to see one of the best tight end weeks that we've had all season long. And if you agree with me, let me know down in the comments. Hit that like button for me, subscribe to the channel, turn on the bell notifications, do all that good stuff before you get on out of here. But for now, Headliner Nation, I've got to go. Peace out, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you all in the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners.